Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the ImPerfect Podcast. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Kennedy. Join us on this week's episode as we discuss intriguing topics and people of interest that will inspire us to explore all of the unique pieces of ourselves.
We are all imperfectly perfect.
We're glad you're here.
Hello, and welcome back to our next episode of the ImPerfect Podcast. Do you know a drama llama? A person who blows situations out of control and or causes non-dramatic situations to become dramatic? Drama is essentially made up conflict and refers to an emotional state where one or both people in a situation create an uncomfortable feeling, sometimes through manipulation and or control.
Right. So in other words, sometimes people will come into a situation and overinflate something that has happened or is being said that really doesn't need to be looked at that negatively per se.
As exciting as drama is to watch on TV, it's not always so enjoyable when you have to live with it, or is it?
So according to Psychology Today, there are a few reasons some people feel the need to quote unquote create drama where there usually would not have been a need of a situation of such. So one of them is attention. And I'm sure we all have experienced that, where there's some people that just need drama partly for a need for attention. So it's this feeling unnoticed or bypassed in life creates in some a need for recognition, and creating drama can be one way of gaining attention by sharing dramatic and eventful stories with other people. So I've heard several people, do a retelling of a situation that they've experienced and they go. And so then I told him, and sometimes I've challenged these people and I'm like, so did you tell him that? Well, no, but I was going to. Well, you're over dramatizing the situation, and that's in that sense. So, it can just create this situation where there's attention for them. It's the same as this is going to sound awful, but a child. I remember there was one time when my sister the dramatics in the middle of the mall, just having a tantrum, just going. And it was all about woe is me. And when she realized she wasn't getting attention from us for that, she stopped, and she was actually embarrassed, and she got up and walked with us. And then she realized people around were laughing at her. So
Right.
It's a terrible good example to give.
It is. And often excessive attention seeking is seen as a character flaw in people, but it's also often indicative of a brain wired response linked to things that happened in one's childhood. There can be trauma, neglect, when people are acting out attention seeking as they get older and become adults. Sometimes that can be little bit of a flag there. So for example, newborns are extremely dependent on getting their mother's attention for their survival, so they can be fed and protected and survive. So drama equals attention to those people, I think, and sometimes people with a need for drama often display symptoms of mental illness as well. So that all kind of ties together, I think, right?
It can, and that's just a perspective that we have on the mental illness, unless that was from Psychology Today directly. But
It was.
it was okay, yeah. Because I was just going to say maybe it's not fair to say in every circumstance, but for some situations, absolutely, I could see how it all ties in.
Yeah. Oh, and again, it says some people,
Right. Okay. So the next one would be learned behavior. So for those who were raised in a family where drama plays a central role in the family dynamic, you learn that this just must be how people act, and it can become a part of your quote unquote normal. And if you didn't have a stable role model in the home, you might have an unconscious belief that people show love and affection through unstable and dramatic behaviors. So it can just be this, learned behavior that just becomes an unconscious part of your life.
Right, because that's your normal. And I can consciously remember the point at which I realized that everybody doesn't have the same belief or the same experience or what have you as everyone else. You know, if you grow up from a child with things a certain way, you tend to have the thought that that's normal, right? Because that's your normal, but it might not be the societal normal at all.
Right. We all go through life experiences that create filters for us. And
Yeah,
then as we experience things in life, and we've explored the filter concept in another episode, but then when we go through experiences in life, our filters create the outcomes and the perceptions of things.
right. So the next one we had here was self-destructive behaviors. Some people with a history of trauma, like that can be emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, uh, often recreate dramatic situations for one of two purposes. One would be to distract them from their own inner turmoil, and the other could be as a self-destructive behavior because they feel so low about themselves.
And I think in this specific category, I think some of it could be conscious choice and sometimes maybe unconscious, that they
Oh, for
just
sure.
put themselves in situations, maybe without realizing. But then other
And that,
times it could be conscious. And that's also to say that some people just have things that happen to them too. So it's not that there's any real backstory or thought behind that. Things can just happen as well.
yeah, we all have a laundry list full of things that we do that we're not sure why we do them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then there's manipulation and control. So causing drama can be used in controlling of others, and can be used to manipulate passive aggressive tendencies. So it can create drama or a reason to fight with them that can make them feel bad about themselves or guilty about the way that they've acted towards you. So the smallest little thing, like let's pretend as an example, I forgot to take the trash out. And if you looked at me and you were like, well, that must mean because yesterday you saw me whatever, and that's why you're being spiteful today, and that's why you didn't take the trash out. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, I just didn't take the trash out because I was watching TikToks. I don't know what the big freaking deal is. But some people use that as manipulative and controlling tactics. That's just a small scale. They tend to be more elaborate. But it's just to get people in a situation where sometimes they can even make it seem like you caused the situation. It's this whole manipulation. I don't even know how to explain it.
The
It's just,
gaslighting kind of.
yeah, exactly.
And again, it's like you said earlier, I think some is conscious and some there's hamsters running and you don't even know they're running, right?
Right. And again, with all of these examples, it's not a blanket answer for everything. Sometimes,
Sure.
I could forget to take the garbage out and you could look at me and maybe you're not trying to be manipulative. You're just having a bad day that day and you think that I did it on purpose or something. It could not mean anything. There could maybe not be any ulterior motives.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other one we have here is excitement. So let's face it, for some reason, some people love that adrenaline rush or wondering if they're going to get caught or the lie's going to be found out. And they tend to over embellish and, everything's a big deal. And some people get addicted to the passion of makeup sex and the intensity of the emotion which follows an argument. So, um, they can become so used to being on that emotional roller coaster that they become addicted to it almost. You've got the highs and the lows, and then you go in the corner. And, ironically, the people on dating apps who say, I mean, I don't use dating apps, but I've heard this said over and over again. And so it said right there in their profile, no drama. I've had enough drama in my life. And it goes on and on about drama and how they're not about drama and stay away with your drama. But they're ironically usually the ones that have the most drama.
And again, that could be, I forget the specific word, like drawing attention to something that isn't even an issue to begin with. The no drama. Why even bring it up? Let's just not even bring it up.
Right.
But again, it could be conscious thoughts. Like I do believe that there's people out there that truthfully do not want to have drama in their relationships because they are sick and tired of it, and they put it in their relationship or their dating app bio or whatever, and for whatever reason they keep attracting that. But it's just, I don't think it's like people are specifically being magnets attracting all of these things to themselves, but I think there's people that just straight up don't want drama, and somehow they end up with it a lot of the time.
Oh, for sure. And there's
Yeah.
people that do, they do want a peaceful life, but they've become so used to the way of feeling when there's a drama like that is their normal. And so to be without that, they feel less alive.
And again, like it probably isn't a like, oh, I need drama to feel alive. It's probably just a things happen that way. You know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. On the edge of your seat, I think it's like a cognitive dissonance thing
Sure.
again, right? And anything beyond the regular turmoil, walking on eggshells, although it's nice, it feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable. So
Mm-hmm.
even though they consciously want something different, they might be, you know, creating drama just to feel that familiarity again.
And in the relationship and dating app example, I know of plenty of women that say they want a good guy and they end up going on a really great date with a great guy, and they
Sabotage.
they ghost him. No, they ghost him, and then meanwhile some guy that tends to be the one they typically go for shows up, and then they go for him. So it's just a bit comfortability, I guess, is another good thing to tie back into that. So, and as a last thing, it's looking for mental stimulation. So drama, it distracts us from our own life by looking at others, and it creates a topic of conversation for some people. So the TikToks for my age group of, there's the TikToks where it's like me and my bestie when we get together and we spill the tea. So it's about like just gossiping and creating these overinflated dramatic situations of, did you know so and so did this or whatever. So it's become very well known that people just get together and love to create topics of conversation around drama. Um, and further to the relationship examples we were giving earlier, Michael Bublé actually addresses this, and he said, I've had relationship issues. I liked pain. I was addicted to drama. Jealousy was the best. I could create absolute mayhem out of nothing. I'm not perfect now, but I'm a work in progress. I like myself a lot more. Therefore, I can like the person that I'm with a lot more. So
Mm.
being more aware of yourself, I guess, is another way to improve in that area.
Right. So now that we understand most of the reasons why people might become or be drama llamas, there's another dynamic that we should probably look at. What if it's not you? What if it's not your fault, but you feel like you've been a magnet for drama, or you currently are? Perhaps you're that go-to person in the crisis, or you're the one that steps in and rescues others when they're in trouble.
Mm,
Do you see
so
some of that in yourself even?
yeah, I'd see it myself for sure. I've shared it with you in the past
Mhm.
that I find I can get myself in situations where people, I don't know, maybe it's a pat on the back in a sense that people know that they can rely on me in times of crisis or if they need something. And I don't mind being that person, but it definitely creates extra turmoil in my life at times for sure. And extra drama that wasn't mine to begin with.
Right. So how can you protect yourself from others and their chaos is what we're going to look at next. So, our first tip is take note of the types of situations which have or often do become your dramas. So, are there similar situations? Are they something familiar to you from maybe the way you grew up? Maybe you are just a people pleaser and you need to know when to say no.
Yeah, you can also ask yourself objectively, of course, would these become dramas for someone else, or do they have a tendency to make them into dramas? So, like, if you put it in someone else's perspective or someone else's shoes, so um, how would so and so react in this situation? It can sometimes create clarity when you're within it.
hmm It's kind of like the tell me I'm not overreacting type of thing, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You could look at a situation and go like, is it just me or am I overreacting? Like, how would mom look at this? Or, what would she say?
Right.
So sometimes that helps give you a little bit better perspective. And as an added twist, sometimes you can observe other people's dramas and choose to involve yourself because you can become fixated on them and sort of that they were a perceived threat to you. So you've labeled their drama as affecting you. And because you see it as a threat, you feel the need to insert yourself, almost get in there and say your part.
Right. And a great example of that, and we kind of discussed it before we started recording, was if, for example, a friend of mine was experiencing hardship in their relationship, and I go over to support them. So now I've become that person that can come and help you in crisis, or someone that they know that they can rely on. And again, I don't mind being that person, but sometimes it can create extra drama in your life. So you're in that situation, you're talking about it, they're telling you about the situations that have gotten to them to this point, and as their friend, you want to support them. So what do? You go, yeah, screw him. Well, why would he do that? And, you're creating this extra drama that may not have necessarily been there.
Right. And there can even be other layers, like more extreme layers to that. Let's say the boyfriend or whoever it is we're talking about at the moment comes home while you're over visiting, and then perhaps you feel the need to say, you don't always have to be so mean to my friend here, and then suddenly you're wrapped up in whatever they had going
And
on.
it wasn't even about you in the first place. Yeah.
So when you choose to engage with those dramas of the other person, it isn't others causing drama for you. You kind of chose to go down that road. So
Right.
stuff can go on exterior from you, and you can express your interest, your concern. That must be difficult for you, what have you, but like, that's yours, not getting involved. Thank you very much. So it leaves that at their drama. But when we were looking into this show, that it's kind of a concept that blows your mind a little bit, when you think about drama in your own life and what part you have had in welcoming that, almost overextending yourself, or maybe when you should have stepped back and you stepped forward instead, and now you're in someone else's drama. So it's not that they're being dramatic, it's that you've like welcomed it almost.
Welcomed, it's a harsh term, but yeah, I see what you're saying, that you knew to some degree what you were stepping into, and now you're in it, and you can still have the opportunity to back out, but by participating within that drama and inflating it, it's
hmm
become your own now.
hmm In reality, it doesn't really even matter what people say or do. Drama's a thought, it's not an emotion. Your reaction and involvement in situations can actually be your decision in making drama or not.
Yeah, and it's also important to remember that other people don't cause your feelings, your thoughts do, and your thoughts control your feelings. So no one can cause drama for you, which is a hard concept to grasp because it's not a real thing necessarily. It's something you create. It can majorly be an interpretation or label you've created for a situation. So this was a bit of a hard topic and a bit of a hard thing for me to grasp personally. And mom and I had to talk about it extensively because I think we were both saying the same thing, but differently. It's that you're in a situation and you people will put themselves in situations, yes, but there are people who are also just out there to cause mayhem. And for me, I thought that was the drama, the people who are causing you discomfort, but it's different. There are people who are just simply awful people, and there's drama where you can be in a situation where you choose how to react. So it can be that you're in the situation and you're going, okay, I know this person is disrespecting me right now, and I can either continue to inflate the situation with them, or I can go, you've disrespected me, I'm going to leave.
Right. And, if we break it down, it's not the exact same situation, but think if you're in a restaurant, this has happened to me 100 times, and one of my nails down a chalkboard things is kids kicking at the bench seat that they're sitting on, right?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
No reason. Or scuffing their boots down the hallway. Yeah.
Another thing, right? So there's certain things that bother certain people. And Kennedy and I might be at the same place together, and this is going on, and it's bugging me and it's triggering me, and now I'm just like can't even focus on why we went there, to what we went to talk about, or the meal. Does it even taste good? Who knows? Because all I can think about is that kid, right? But meanwhile, Kennedy's like, so how's your chicken alfredo?
Right.
Whatever.
It's not spazzing me at all, right?
Right. And people, it's the same. Do you see the parallel here with drama? There's going to be situations maybe you're not involved in, but certain parts of it are gonna maybe trigger you.
Right.
And those are things perhaps you need to not inflate, to pick your word, but to step back and maybe have a better look.
Yeah. And I guess it's a good way to look at it too. It's about emotionally maintaining your own stability there. So you can get caught up in drama, and it can definitely be emotionally and mentally draining. So it's more than that even. Drama can actually cause the pituitary gland and hypothalamus to secrete endorphins, which are the pain suppressing and pleasure inducing compounds. So that's super weird to think about, because this is what heroin and other opiates mimic. So despite you not wanting to feed the drama llama, there is a strange payoff in inviting it in for tea. And I think it's funny how you wrote the word tea in our show notes today, because like my example earlier, oh, let's spill the tea. It's all about the drama and let's get into it. But it can emotionally and mentally affect you. I've found myself in situations where I've had a discussion with, say, my mom in the morning, and we've gotten into it and we've created drama and whatever. And by the evening, I'm still thinking about it when I'm laying in bed at night.
And let's say we just had a difference of opinion, and instead of us both overinflating the situation, you could just say, well, I don't see it the same way. I'm going to let you go for now. Talk to you later. Bye.
And we've done that before in some circumstances, because we're like, oh no, here we go. It's not going to be good.
Engage, don't engage.
Yeah.
So lastly, there are some very important lessons for the rest of us who consider ourselves to not be the ones who are actually causing the dramas that we sometimes find ourselves in. The people you think that are causing the drama are actually, or can be, that doesn't mean they are, but they can be some of your greatest teachers for what you need to work on yourself. Because like I was saying earlier, if something's triggering you, it's actually their drama could actually be enabling you to find the things that you need to work on and overcome in yourself.
Right. So it could be any person really that is presenting. It's not the person specifically. It could be the same situation presented in person A, B, C, D, elemental P. You're still going to have that same reaction because maybe you have a trigger within yourself. And it could have nothing to do with you. It could have, you're watching something go down and there's drama involved, and it can still trigger you in that way.
Right. Or even things like, maybe an abusive situation. And then if you grew up in that, right, there's the there's the little bit of a raw spot again.
Yeah.
So is avoidance a good technique to use?
So in our opinion, it can be. Again, in our opinion, it can be, but the mess in the closet, so to speak, doesn't go away. It's like sweeping it under the rug. If you don't look at it, avoidance may help change the circumstances for right now, but these situations could continue to present themselves to you, and you may choose to engage and create drama in life again in many different circumstances. It's about being very self-aware, I guess, is what we're trying to get at
Yeah.
here.
It's sort of like what you're trying to say is if you skip the first test, you're not going to pass the chapter, right? You're going to have
Right.
to go back and relearn that lesson again, for lack of a better parallel there. But I've heard that said, and I toyed with it in my mind, like, is it true that if we don't get the message in one way, perhaps we've gone through something in our life, but we didn't learn the ultimate message, the ultimate takeaway lesson. And if you didn't get it the first time, guess what? You're getting that test again and again and again.
Yeah.
I've heard that many times, and this would kind of almost back that up, right?
And again, a blanket situation, that can be the situation in other situations. It's all about life circumstances and where you are, what opportunities you have and what ones you don't. But all of us need to develop boundaries. You need to recognize your triggers for what they are and what they mean, and prepare yourself for life circumstances to do with those triggers. And don't allow other people to pull you into their drama. And I just wanted to revisit the fact that what was really hard for me to understand in this concept is I thought drama meant the same thing as abuse, and it's not at all the same thing. Some people are just awful and want to do awful things to other people, and drama is just about, we're trying to portray today that sometimes people are having their own dramas and you can choose to involve yourself or remove yourself. And it's just being very self-aware.
Yeah. When we were talking about the show, I had said to Kennedy, like, you must have people in your life now or, from the past where something that was, maybe insignificant to you turned into this big over the top, blah, blah, blah. Like, and yeah. And she's like, yeah, definitely. Like, I know those people. I'm sure our listeners know those people as well. We all have those sorts of people. And I don't mean to point the finger out, because I've probably, in fact, I know I have been that person in the past, something that's really big to me and meant something to me or is on my heart a lot can be enough to send me spiraling into this drama thing. And, Kennedy could listen to my issue and say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. That must be tough, okay, talk to you later, bye.
Yeah.
Instead of like, so he said what? And, and then, and why didn't you? And if that had been me, and
Right.
all of a sudden you're in on it. And like you said, then 6 o'clock at night, you're still thinking about it and
Right.
you're wound up and you're anxious about it too, right? So,
Right. And meanwhile, it was your situation and I'm going to bed with it now. Right.
exactly. Yeah.
So positive action does not come from negative thoughts and negative emotions. It comes from seeing our own strength with emotional responsibility and how much power we have in not allowing others to actually disrupt our peace. We have full power over our own peace.
Correct.
So thank you so much for listening to another episode, and we will see you next week again.
Bye.
If you or someone you know has a unique story to tell, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at theimperfectpodcast@outlook.com.
For more information and how to connect with us on social media, you can visit us at our website, theimperfectpodcast.ca.
And from whichever platform you are listening to this episode, be sure to like, share, and leave us a review. We would really appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
We look forward to hearing your feedback and seeing you all find that extra joy and embrace your own imperfect.
See you next week.